Welcome to Left, Right, Center, where we are covering Colorado politics first on CBS 4. I'm political specialist Sean Boyd with our analysts, Democrat Mike Dino, Republican Dick Wadhams. Former President Donald Trump weighed in this week for the first time in Colorado's U.S. Senate race, blasting Republican candidate Joe O'Dea after O'Dea said on CNN he would actively campaign against Trump if he ran in 2024. Trump went on his social media platform and called O'Dea a rhino, a Republican in name only, saying O'Dea is having a good old time, saying he wants to distance himself from President Trump and other slightly nasty things. MAGA doesn't vote for stupid people with big mouths. Good luck, Joe. Dick? I cannot help but wonder if O'Dea purposefully provoked Trump in this case.
Well, the great thing about Joe O'Dea is that he says what he means, and he doesn't make stuff up. I mean, he doesn't tailor his comments for political purposes. Honestly, I mean, there's nothing with Joe O'Dea. You get what you get. But having said that, I think this helps him in this election. 46% of the electorate are unaffiliated voters. Those are the ones that will make or break Joe O'Dea. And I think the unaffiliated voters are trying to figure this out. They don't like Biden. They don't like inflation. They don't like crime. They don't like Bennett voting for all that stuff. And they're going to say to themselves, this is a Republican I can vote for. And because he was gutsy enough to separate himself. I think it's a great move. I really do.
Isn't it risky, though? I mean, you risk turning off. There's quite a few Republicans in this state who back Donald Trump. Right?
Yeah, and this goes back to primary in late June. We talked about this. The Republicans, to their credit in the state, nominated probably the least extreme ticket they could.
With the help of unaffiliated voters.
And Joe O'Dea got a lot of those. And the challenge is will the MAGA supporters, I mean, just sit on their hands, vote for third parties? We've already seen in the Senate race, O'Dea's opponent in the primary, Hanks, endorsed the Libertarian candidate. So I think it's a wash. Let's put it that way. I think Dick's right. I think they'll get some of those unaffiliateds because Trump trashed him. But he's going to lose some of those extreme people to the Libertarian or just sitting on their hands.
I would make one more observation, Sean. Any Republican who doesn't vote for Joe O'Dea made that decision a long time ago. And this just added to their fervor to not vote for him, but I don't think it changed any Republican minds. I really don't.
This race has been so focused on abortion.
Yes.
You know, O'Dea's campaign demanded this week that an ad by Bennett be pulled from the air because it said that if O'Dea is elected, that he would give McConnell the majority to pass a national abortion ban, which O'Dea has said from the start, yeah, I don't support a national ban on abortion. How much does an ad like this hurt him, Mike?
Well, this is what we're going to see play out nationwide. Will the Roe versus Wade decision, the abortion stuff, win out over the economy?
Right.
You know, Dick has, I think, been very on point arguing about the economy playing out. And as a Democrat, you know, my hunch is, in seeing the numbers of women who registered to vote after that decision, they're still there. They're going to vote. It's going to be tight on which one of those issues edges it out.
I know this is a surprise, but there are pro-life Republican women out there and pro-life women generally. I don't think all those women who registered were pro-choice. The other thing I'll make a point about is that the National Democratic Party, and here in Colorado, they seem to have totally shifted their focus to abortion. I mean, I turn on the TV and there's another abortion ad attacking. President Biden yesterday announces, my first thing I'm going to do next year is to take on abortion. And I'm thinking, let's see, you go outside and your car is stolen, or the catalytic converter is stolen, like Mike's was.
I got a new one.
And then I mean, crime, inflation, the border, fentanyl, and he's talking about abortion. I think it's a failed approach. I really do, Sean.
Well, O'Dea and Bennett took the stage together for the first time this week. I moderated in a forum focused on mental health, and they debated whether a gun law providing money for mental health went far enough.
Some of the best bipartisan work I've seen since I've been in the Senate that resulted in our passing this historic amount of money, $12 billion for mental health. He said he would have voted against that bill.
We got $12 billion out of $5 trillion. My God, why aren't our priorities on mental health? Why are they focused on education for our kids?
Mike, this is a first ever mental health forum in a U.S. Senate race. How do you think an issue like this plays into the election?
Well, I don't think it has a big spotlight in the election, but it's an important one, and I'm glad it's being talked about. I mean, I grew up playing sports. It's easy to, fix a broken ankle or a rotator cuff, but, we're in a society that hasn't focused on mental health enough as something that people need to pay attention to as their health in general, and certainly to help others who need support with it, with the public money that Senator Bennett pointed out. So it is a big deal. It'll continue to be a big deal. And but for this election, it's either going to be the abortion or the economy.
But Dick, do you see a forum like this becoming tradition going forward, given the magnitude of this problem?
Yeah, I do. In fact, I think given, and we talked last week about homelessness, and that the mental health ties directly into that. And I think that's one of the challenges of dealing with the homeless issue. But I think it will. And I thought Joe O'Dea raised a great point in that exchange we just watched. There are some different approaches to this, and I think Joe O'Dea was good. So.
All right, well, coming up, undercover video captures Colorado's Attorney General at a lavish event in Hawaii, funded in part by corporations AGs are suing or investigating. My investigation is next.
Colorado weather can change so fast. As soon as we see change coming, we let you know. Get ready with me every day. That's why we first alert.
State Rep Kyle Mullica is helping Colorado families. He supported free full-day kindergarten and pre-K that will save families thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, his opponent, Courtney Potter, spent her time as an elected school board member spreading dangerous misinformation and conspiracy theories. She shared false claims about COVID and vaccines and posts comparing common safety measures to Nazi Germany. Potter also urged school board members to ban educational materials she disagrees with. We can't trust Courtney Potter to look out for our kids, and we can't trust her in the state Senate.
Yadira Caraveo got her way, passing her bill they warned would kill thousands of jobs. Now, Colorado's lost over 12,000 oil and gas jobs, taking away paychecks families depend on. After the jobs left, Caraveo raised taxes too, costing working families. Caraveo even pushed to eliminate Tabor, ending your tax refund. Look at all the damage she's already done. Yadira Caraveo doesn't care about us. The NRCC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Tom Kim was handpicked by the gun lobby. He comes from the gun industry. He's backed by extreme gun lobby groups. And if elected, he'll do their bidding. He's promised to end background checks, allow dangerous people to carry guns in public, and do away with safe storage laws. But Tom Kim's extremism doesn't stop there. He's against a woman's right to choose, and he could vote to criminalize abortion in our state, even in cases of rape or incest. Tom Kim is way too extreme for Colorado.
I've been caring for people with depression and PTSD for over 20 years. Too many are suffering, and pills and talk therapy aren't always effective. Medical research shows psilocybin can be effective in treating depression and anxiety. The FDA calls it, quote, breakthrough therapy. It breaks the cycle of negative thoughts. It's regulated therapy, not for sale to bring home. For my patients, natural medicine could be another treatment option. Yes on 122 brings healing and hope.
State Rep Kyle Mullica is helping Colorado families. He supported free full-day kindergarten and pre-K that will save families thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, his opponent, Courtney Potter, spent her time as an elected school board member spreading dangerous misinformation and conspiracy theories. She shared false claims about COVID and vaccines and posts comparing common safety measures to Nazi Germany. Potter also urged school board members to ban educational materials she disagrees with. We can't trust Courtney Potter to look out for our kids, and we can't trust her in the state Senate.
Welcome back to Left, Right, Center. I'm political specialist Sean Boyd. This week, a special investigative report by CBS 4 showed how state attorneys general are attending lavish events funded in part by companies they're suing and investigating. We received video of one of the events from a Republican group, although these events in question include AGs from both parties. They're hosted by an organization called the Attorney General Alliance. Colorado's AG Phil Weiser chairs that organization. Grand Wailea Resort in Maui is billed as a tropical oceanfront paradise with luxurious accommodations that start at $1,000 a night. But when the Attorney General Alliance held its annual conference here last summer, AGs didn't have to pay a dime. Their stay compliments of taxpayers and the organization's sponsors, which includes some of the nation's biggest lobbying firms and corporations like Google, Facebook, Juul, and Pfizer, all of which AGs were suing at the time.
To me, it's ethics 101 that you don't take advantage of a situation that's being funded by organizations that you're suing or investigating.
Chris Toth is former executive director of the National Association of Attorneys General, a quasi-governmental organization that provides training and resources for AGs, unlike the AG Alliance, which he says exists primarily to give corporate executives and lobbyists access to AGs. According to the organization's internal recruiting manual, the more corporate sponsors give, the more access they get, with sponsorships starting at $10,000. For years, Toth says he sounded an alarm about the growing influence of corporate money in the AG community. Now he's retired and speaking publicly for the first time.
I think any person would look at this and say, you know what, that's not right anymore. If an attorney I hired was hanging out and taking things from the person I'm suing.
An independent audit of the organization's finances shows about 70% of its funding last year, nearly $5 million, came from corporate sponsors, many of which also donate to AG's political campaigns. Colorado's AG, Phil Weiser, held a fundraiser in Maui the day after the conference. Weiser, who chairs the organization, has sued, settled, or is currently in litigation with more than a dozen corporate sponsors.
Phil Weiser was aware of my views. He had different views.
Weiser declined an interview with CBS 4, but in a statement defended the organization, saying it allows AGs to collaborate on issues of common interest. Former Republican AG Cynthia Kaufman, who endorsed Weiser's re-election bid, says events like this are about problem solving, not influence peddling.
We had a cryptocurrency seminar, and I can assure you even the brightest AGs could not have taught what the cryptocurrency market is about. You have to have people who actually function in that world and understand it. I have had corporations say, this helped me be a better corporate citizen and do my accounting and compliance because I heard you all talk about what your expectations were.
Kaufman and Weiser say they paid for everything but food and drink when they attended the annual conference in Hawaii, but they didn't have to under state law.
It's proven to be one of the most difficult things to regulate.
Bill Leone, former chair of the state's Independent Ethics Commission, says commissioners received a complaint in a similar case a few years ago.
And it was hard to put your finger on either an ethical rule or a law that was violated by doing it. But it was distasteful, and it's gotten even worse. The whole idea of paying for access and paying for what they perceive to be influence is what makes the average person look at these things and say, this is part of a rigged system. So I would look, if Phil were sitting here today, I'd say, Phil, don't do it.
Kaufman pointed skeptics to multi-billion-dollar settlements with corporate sponsors.
You have only to look at the amount of money for which they had to settle and pay for their behavior to see that there was not favoritism.
Toth says it's the appearance of impropriety that concerns him.
Could some of these settlements been higher? Perhaps, perhaps not. But when you're taking things from the people you're suing and investigating, it certainly creates a very, very troubling perception.
Especially, he says, when you're the people's attorney and the people you represent are excluded from the gatherings.
If you're an advocate for survivors of opioids, you used to at least be able to get in the meeting by paying the same fee everybody else paid. But now, essentially, you're locked out.
Anyone in the public has access to an attorney general to be able to call the office and say, I'd like an appointment with General Kaufman or General Weiser to talk about this particular issue.
Kaufman says conferences she attended included opposing viewpoints, but the agenda for the Maui conference shows a full day of cannabis panels with industry advocates, but no opponents. Kaufman and Weiser say AGs don't court sponsors and they have no influence on lawsuits or settlements. But Toth says They don't pay tens of thousands of dollars for nothing.
Is it really worth violating the public trust and taking money from people that are being sued and investigated so you can have better food, better swag bags, better social events? Is it really worth that? And I think clearly the answer is no.
But for now, there's no law against it.
What really has to happen is the voters have to put their foot down and say, we don't like that. We don't want our public officials to play in a rigged game. We want them to serve our interests. And you know, if they punish that behavior, then it'll stop.
The AG Alliance wouldn't talk about its sponsorships, but says its events are free to nonprofits and academics, too, although it wouldn't name any that have attended. Pfizer is the only company that responded to my request for comment. It called suggestions that it was trying to influence AGs inaccurate and misleading. Kaufman says 6 Colorado AGs, 3 Republicans, 3 Democrats, have belonged to the organization that started with just Western AGs. It didn't become this national group until her tenure. You know, Mike Weiser has chaired this organization for 2 years, and yet he was unwilling to go on camera with me. I think this makes it worse. It kind of plays into that narrative that trying to hide something here, you know?
It may. I think the former AG, a Republican, Cynthia Kaufman, really responded for him, and did it quite well. I mean, this is something Republicans and Democrats have done across the country in terms of being part of these organizations. I do think Attorney General Weiser will get reelected, and it will give him time to contemplate on whether he should continue to be involved in an organization like this, because Phil's a really good, upstanding person. I think he's been a very good Attorney General. And this is something he should assess if it's worth continuing to be a part of and promoting. Because I think in your package, which you put a lot of effort into, and we saw from folks, you know, who were critical of it, it really is worth thinking about continuing doing and really discontinuing.
And he did not ask Cynthia Kaufman. I asked Cynthia Kaufman, right? You know, to say, hey, you know, you were part of this. What do you got to say about it? And to her credit, she did go on camera and defend it. You know, Dick, my report is not, it's the first on this particular organization, but we've got a Republican AG association, we've got a Democrat AG association, and the New York Times has done stories on these, and nothing has changed. Is this, what does it take? You know, I asked Bill Leone, you heard me, what does it take to change this?
No, first of all, I demand that Weiser return the swag bag. I just think that's going too far. I think it's slimy, Sean. That's the word that comes to mind. And frankly, I was disappointed that that Cynthia Kaufman decided to defend it, because it's slimy for her to have been a part of it as well. And I'm disappointed she did it. Weiser got nailed on this one. I love the shot of him drinking his beer there in that beautiful garden on Maui. I mean, it's just, the whole thing is just wrong. And the fact, and it's just cowardly, in my opinion, that he did not go on an interview with you. In fact, if I had been him, I would have been in here demanding an interview and to defend it and to lay out what it's for. That shows me that he's kind of ashamed of it. That if he's not willing to defend it, then he's incapable of defending it. So I don't know. I just think it's whether it has any impact. I think actually it will. This is getting circulated all over. This story you did, and I will tell you, the fact that Weiser wouldn't respond, people are noticing, and I predict there will be money behind airing ads with this as the centerpiece. I do. And
again, this is a group, you know, while Weiser is a Democrat, right? You know, as I pointed out, we've had Republican AGs who belong to this. We've had Democrat AGs, and there is the Democratic and Republican AG association. So this is something that, you know, both parties, AGs from both parties, are guilty of here. But really, you know, you heard Bill Leone talk about there isn't any specific ethics rule. There's no law against doing this at this point, you know?
Yeah, and Sean, you know, what makes this challenging is this is part of our criminal justice system. There is a lot of criticism nowadays of our judicial system being more politicized, what we're seeing with the Supreme Court, and it's a little different from when you're trying to elect a governor, senators, legislators, because you kind of to cross the line, right? I mean, unfortunately, we're in that day and age where that's why voters have sort of soured on our election process. But when you're talking about attorneys, the attorney general, judges, you hold them to a higher standard. And that's why I think Phil's going to have a chance in a second term to assess this and look to how to improve upon it.
Right. As I pointed out in my story, my original story, these are individuals who have sole discretion over whether to investigate, to sue, and what those settlements should look like.
And by the way, Sean, he is very ambitious. He wants to run for higher office. He better clean this up, or this is going to be haunting him for the rest of his political career.
It could.
And Dick just said what I wanted to say, too, because I agree. He's looking for something more, and if he doesn't rectify it now,
it'll follow him. Well, up next, a surprise endorsement in Colorado's Secretary of State race.
Colorado's quickly changing weather can come with danger. Know what to expect. Stay safe with my forecast every day. That's why we first alert.
Accused of age discrimination.
Accused of illegally firing older workers.
Accused of saying we need to get rid of these old sick people.
Who was accused?
Joe O'Day's company.
And they chose to settle the lawsuit.
Now Day said he's open to cutting our Social Security and Medicare.
It's a pattern we can't ignore.
Trust O'Day with our retirement?
No way.
Absolutely not.
LCV Victory Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I've been caring for people with depression and PTSD for over 20 years. Too many are suffering, and pills and talk therapy aren't always effective. Medical research shows psilocybin can be effective in treating depression and anxiety. The FDA calls it, quote, breakthrough therapy. It breaks the cycle of negative thoughts. It's regulated therapy, not for sale to bring home. For my patients, natural medicine could be another treatment option. Yes on 122 brings healing and hope.
Tom Kim was handpicked by the gun lobby. He comes from the gun industry. He's backed by extreme gun lobby groups. And if elected, he'll do their bidding. He's promised to end background checks, allow dangerous people to carry guns in public, and do away with safe storage laws. But Tom Kim's extremism doesn't stop there. He's against a woman's right to choose, and he could vote to criminalize abortion in our state, even in cases of rape or incest. Tom Kim is way too extreme for Colorado.
When Sean returned from overseas, he thought he'd left the battle behind, but he'd been exposed to toxic chemicals from burn pits in Iraq, and it was just the beginning. For too long, veterans like Sean were refused care, but Michael Bennett helped pass a law to expand health care to thousands of Colorado veterans harmed by burn pits. Michael defended those who defend us, and I know my husband would be so thankful.
I'm Michael Bennett, and I approve this message.
Tim Walsh has an extreme agenda for Colorado. He'll do more than get rid of a woman's right to choose. He'll ban all abortion, even for victims of rape and incest. He opposes the fundamental right to birth control. He even called a proponent of Colorado's law protecting choice evil.
No, there are two kinds of people in this world, good and evil. She is evil.
To protect choice in Colorado, we must stop Tim Walsh.
Welcome back to Left, Right, Center. This week, the Denver Post made a splash when it endorsed Republican Pam Anderson for Secretary of State over Democratic incumbent Jenna Griswold. The Post wrote, Anderson's entire career has been spent advocating for and executing free and fair elections. As a Republican, she has addressed the issue head on, frequently repeating that there is no basis to claims that Colorado, or any state for that matter, engaged in a massive campaign to defraud the American people of their vote in 2020 or any election. The endorsement comes the same week a Democratic super PAC began running this ad.
Harder for Coloradans to vote. As Secretary of State, Anderson wants less voter access, fewer ballot drop boxes, and said automatic registration was wrong. Pam Anderson is too MAGA to run Colorado elections.
Now, as I said in my reality check of this ad, it is the most blatantly deceptive that I've ever seen, which is saying something. You know, Dick, I think this is also, I ask you both about this, if you've ever seen an attack ad in a Colorado Secretary of State's race. This is the first I've ever seen.
No, I've not seen one before, and I've never seen an ad, and you pointed this out, that is such a lie. I mean, the whole ad can come down to one word. It is a lie. And she should be ashamed of herself. But, of course, she's not ashamed of anything. I mean, she runs her office like a political bureau. She's incompetent. She, as we've proved with the 30,000 people for the second time getting a letter of non-citizens asking them to register to vote. I mean, I could go on and on. She is unfit for the office, and that's all there is to it.
Does this ad hurt Anderson, do you think, Mike?
Well, you know, listen, the Denver Post endorsement, I think, you know, was appropriate. I mean, she is the best candidate the Republicans have on their ticket all the way from down to bottom. It does hurt her because they're putting $400,000 behind it.
Right. Yeah, this Democratic super PAC. So a lot of people are going to see it,
yes.
and they're going to wonder. Right.
Yeah,
it says
won't
MAGA
have the money to counter it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
they should be proud of themselves that they stooped to such lows. I mean, this is just this is what I don't even like about politics. I mean, I got to tell you, I love politics, but it's getting worse. And this ad is the epitome of how bad this process has gotten.
All right.
Defending her.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching Left, Right, Center. We'll see you next week.